What up, party people? Welcome back to another episode of Controversial Album Covers. This is episode number 37. And here it is, Motley Crue's Shout at the Devil. It was released on September 23rd, 1983, and it is their second album release. Now, it was originally supposed to be called Shout with the Devil, but the AR reps and the label said absolutely not. We already have enough problems with you jackasses. We just don't need the Christian groups coming at us with their pickets and their torches. So they changed it to Shout at the Devil, hoping that the Christian groups would be like, yes, the devil's bad, you should shout at him. Of course, that's not necessarily true because there's a pentagram on the front of it, and that definitely caused problems with the Christian groups. And they said that they were promoting worshiping Satan, and they were trying to get kids to go to the dark side. Now, if you weren't alive in the 80s were Satan's decade. He was everywhere from Mad Magazine to movies to record jackets to books to everything and anything. This is also the era of Jim and Tammy Faye Baker and all of the religious TV stuff. So Satan was found everywhere and anywhere, and so Motley Crue just decided to go with it. On that same note now, Nikki Sixx was pretty much obsessed with the occult and pentagrams at that time because prior to Motley Crue, he was in a band called Sister, and Sister, the lead singer was Blackie Lawless, who was the lead singer of Wasp. And they were notorious for blood on stage, face makeup, lots of theatrics, and definitely tons and tons of the occult and black arts and stuff like that. So Nikki Sixx had actually asked Blackie if he could use the pentagram and some of the other cults for Motley Crue, and Lawless is like, yeah, go for it, because he at the time was thinking, he had realized that once you go down that road, it's really tough to get out of. You tend to get pigeonholed. So he's like, yeah, go for it. He was doing other things, and so that's where the pentagram comes forth. And there's a lot of stories about weird stuff going on at Nikki Sixx's house you can look up, and it's actually kind of interesting if you believe that. So they used the pentagram on the front, and there's actually even an unreleased track that was supposed to be on this album called I Will Survive, and it has the band members saying Jesus is Satan, and it's backmasked, and you can hear it in the background of the song. You can find that on YouTube. It's actually not a bad track. I'm surprised that it wasn't on here, especially since he loved all that stuff, though. Now, Nikki Sixx has always said that the meaning of the album and the meaning of the cover was pushing back, and pushing back could be against anything perceived, meaning it could be enemy at hand, it could be the devil inside, or even someone on a wobbly campaign trail. And he's always said that, whether it's true or not, that's what he seems to be sticking to now. So now, this has nothing to do with this particular album other than that they were touring for this album at the time, but it's a great story. It's one of my favorite stories. So at the time, Motley Crue was touring with Monsters of Rock, and they were with AC/DC and Van Halen and a bunch of other people. But they had pissed off AC/DC and Van Halen so much by biting them and all the other crap that was going on that they had said, hey, look, they went to the promoter and said, you got to get Motley Crue out of here. We're done with them. If they don't leave, we're leaving. And the promoter's like, I can't get rid of Motley Crue because this album was huge at the time and they were selling tickets. So the promoter came up with a pretty interesting idea. What he did is when Motley Crue got to the designated location, they went in their trailer and they were locked in the trailer, and then it was lifted up off the ground by a crane several hundred or several feet. I don't know how far off it was. And then they couldn't come out until they were ready to go on to perform, and then it was dropped down. They went out and performed, and then they had to leave the location immediately. And that's how they ran the rest of the concert. And that is amazing to me. That just epitomizes 80s hair metal and 80s heavy metal. That is just exactly a perfect encapsulation of what the 80s metal was all about. I'd love to hear more about that story. If you have anything, please put it in the comments. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.